United States Intelligence Committee members just warned us. Let's talk about it. So there's a lot of history of this. This goes back decades, even centuries, this tactic, okay? And this is possibly going to be used as a war tactic. We've talked about how siege is a tactic to take over countries' food and resources before you even attack. Well, what if they were able to wipe out the United States agriculture production for animals, crops, everything? This is entirely possible. This has already been going on for bare minimum decades, possibly centuries. Okay, so just really quick, going back centuries, back to 1710, Russian forces would throw plagued bodies over the fence to infect the Swedish troops. Okay, so this was when the plague was going around and people were dying. They would throw plagued bodies over the fence to infect them. All right, and then going back to the Soviet Union in 1958 through the collapse of the USSR in 1991, the Soviet-era agriculture biowarfare program focused on anti-crop and anti-livestock biological weapons, with Soviet efforts starting with FMD virus. So there's been whole biological weapons programs to target specific crops, specific animals with viruses to wipe them out. And it's a lot of farming is region based. So the crops you want to grow are based on what region you're in, how cold it gets, what the temperatures are, what your zone is, okay? How much sunlight you get, how much it rains. Is it a desert, or does it rain constantly, or is it in between? All these things are, considered, or to be considered when you want to grow a crop. So a lot of things like Russian winter wheat is very specific to Russia, all right? It gets so cold there, and the winters are so long that they have to grow a very specific kind of very hard winter wheat there to get through the winter and to have their wheat harvest. So something like that would be very easy to target with a biological weapon to wipe it out. And the United States government has already done this with Colombia, admittedly. So they target, cocoa plants that are grown for drugs, and they target them with biological weapons, admittedly, to wipe them out so they can't get their harvest. So this warning needs to be taken seriously from this House Intelligence Committee member. So the headline is, House Intelligence Committee member warns people not to share health data with sites like 23andMe because it can be used to program new bioweapons to target them. Right? I know that sounds crazy. That sounds like some James Bond stuff. That was like a plot of a James Bond thing. But this person has served in the military. All right. They've had multiple tours, and they're on the House Intelligence Committee. And they're warning of this. And one of the biggest things that I noticed was officials warned the bioweapons could also target animals and disrupt food supplies around the globe. And he also goes on to say sites like 23andMe could be a potential risk because they're harvesting your genomic data, essentially, and they could sell it to third-party actors that could not have your best interest at heart. Okay, and people could also harvest this data, compile it. And U.S. Senator Joni Ernst from Iowa is a member of the Senate Armed Service Committee, and she said the U.S. rivals could use such DNA bioweapons to target food supplies on a vast scale. Ernst warned that biological weapons could be used to target specific animals that citizens, troops, or other cities depend on, bringing about scarcity and food insecurity to weaken people. This is a U.S. Senator on the Senate Armed Service Committee. You've probably heard of this person, Joni Ernst. I've heard her name a million times. Food insecurity drives a lot of other insecurities around the globe, Ernst said. There are a number of ways we can look at biological weapons and the need to make sure not only we're securing human beings, but also the food that will sustain us. All right, so this is serious. They are warning of this. These people are on the intelligence committee, so they're both talking about this. They probably got a warning, got a report, an intelligence report saying, hey, this is a real threat. We need to watch out for this. We need to be prepared for this. All right, and this is a real thing. Even Putin, when he goes abroad, he doesn't, he brings like a poop case, okay, like a briefcase, but it's a poop case, whatever. It's not exactly what it is, but he has his own toilet, okay, because he doesn't want anyone collecting his DNA, because they could potentially analyze his DNA, figure out if he has any illnesses, figure out what's wrong with him, figure out anything, you know. They could make a specific DNA bioweapon to target Putin, you know what I mean, so it only kills him. So we need to be extremely careful. Just another reason to grow your own food. Have multiple varieties of seeds and plants in your garden. All right. The diversity will help, because if one variety is like weakened, you know, it's not doing well, the bugs are probably going to attack that. But then if you have another that's doing better, it'll make up for it. You know, have diversity in your garden. What if there is some kind of, I mean, look at Florida. The citrus there, the greening disease is already a huge issue, right? It's almost on the verge of collapse in Florida, the citrus industry, right? And it's because of this greening disease. So I believe it's this microorganism that bores into the stems and just forces the plants to not ripen, all right? They just stay green. So you don't want to eat a green orange, do you? It's called an orange for a reason. And they have to spray it with massive pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, just to keep up. This could happen with any crop. What if all the corn was wiped out? The corn is a giant monoculture in America, all right? Massive monoculture, thousands, millions of acres of corn in one place. And I'm sure that's all like the same variety of corn. So if there was a bioweapon like they're warning on the food supply, just to target the corn, just this one variety of corn, I told you that the government already targets cocoa plants in Colombia to wipe them out. What if some bad actor was able to target the corn? All right, these are real things. These are real threats. We need to be aware of this. All right, we need to be prepared. We need to be not vulnerable at all. If you're not prepped, if you're not getting your pantry going, your prepper pantry going, top 5 things for your prepper pantry if you haven't got it: rice, canned meat, evaporated milk, vitamins, and what else? One more thing. Probably like salt and seasoning. All right, noodles, maybe throw that in there too. All right, but rice, canned meat, and vitamins, evaporated milk, and some salt, because you need salt for your body. Maybe canned vegetables as well. That'll get you started. That's a good base. All right, 20-pound bag of rice, $8. That'll get you through almost 2 weeks of survival for one person. Just the rice alone. Eating full calories, 2,000 calories. All right, so get a bag of rice now. Get flour now. Learn how to bake stuff now. We were talking about that before. And thank you guys so much. You guys are the best community. The prepper community freaking rocks. We see the future. We see what's coming. And we stand up. We get prepared. We go and get our families ready. You know? We're not just like sitting here and gonna starve. I'm not gonna starve if there's a bioweapon on the corn. You know? And they're literally warning of things like this happening. Or even animals. Wipe out whole breeds of cattle. You know, cattle are very region specific too. There's only, they have certain cattle in Russia, certain cattle in China, certain cattle here. It's like very region specific. So that would be another thing that easily wipe out with a bioweapon. All right, so don't starve. I know that sounds dramatic, but don't. You don't want to be sitting there the day after and be like, dang, I wish I just bought a bag of rice for $8. All right, just do it.